what does it mean to be a man and masculinity? That masculinity, all young boys have that developing in them when testosterone's firing and you have all this stuff going on inside of you, and you don't know how to do that, or how to channel that energy, or how to channel those feelings that you have or those desires that you have. And being a man is taking that electricity and channeling it correctly. Mm. Taking this power that's been put in you that you don't know what to do with, and being a man is channeling that the right way.
Welcome into Men Are Forged podcast. I'm your host, Cartwright Morris. Got some exciting stuff coming to you this fall, specifically this August. I've got a men's group for leaders that you can sign up right now, help you find solutions in your work and career today. As well as, you could just jump on to menareforged.com, check out more of the stuff I'm doing, career coaching, purpose-driven coaching, and as well as some of the content from the podcast. So go to menareforged.com, and you can schedule a 15-minute call today to find out more. So go to menareforged.com. All right, today, really enjoyed Brian Gill and Brad Hill. Man, why not have to focus so much on that? But enjoyed interviewing the Storied Outdoors podcast. If you hadn't checked that out, episode 97, please go do that. Man, they are two guys that I've really enjoyed just getting to know them, the little relationship I've had with them the last few weeks, and just kind of hearing more of the interview. There was so much to unpack, so much just good things. It's the first time I've ever done that, was interviewing two people. Love to y'all. Just go check that out. Give a like, a follow, subscribe, whatever. It really helps me, but also go check out the Storied Outdoors podcast. This is not their full-time thing, but this is something that is a passion project for them, something they love doing, and talking about their adventures and their writing and things that they're doing. So if you're a dad, if you're someone who loves the outdoors, loves a good storytelling, go check out the Storied Outdoors podcast. So I just dive into this quote. It's really fascinating. He was quoting John Tyson, if any of y'all follow John Tyson, and highly recommend him as well, just talking about the intentional fatherhood. He's an Australian, but he's an American pastor in New York City. But we're having that conversation with Brian and Brad just around what it means to be a man, masculinity, the whole Men Are Forged concept, and the key difference that we hit in that quote, right? What's the difference between men and boys? Is men, as we start learning how to channel some of these things in our life, emotions, our strength, we use it for good. That's the difference between men and boys. There's 50-year-old boys walking around because they've never learned how to manage their emotions. They never learned how to use their strengths for good. Never how to use this power that's been given to them as a man and channel it in a way that is healthy, beneficial to others. So I just think that's a fascinating concept, as we really are in dire need for this intentional masculinity, intentional movement towards showing all the redemptive nature of being a man. It's such a fight that we have right now, that there is such a dismissal, a belittling of men and masculinity. The term toxic masculinity, which is like, they're not wrong. There is absolutely men who can be toxic, but it's not a masculine trait to be toxic. It's really boys. That's a boy. That's a boy in a man's body who does toxic type things that they're referring to. The belittling of women, the abuse of children, the catcalling, toxic masculinity. I'm trying to think all the terms they've used for what defines a toxic masculinity. But there's something to be said. But the true masculine expression, masculinity that is really defined, is when we really take an intentional move from boyhood to manhood. We take all the things that, as a boy, that we were struggling with, trying to understand, and we actually have other men around us teach us and show us how to be masculine, how to be a man, and how to control that, how to channel that masculine traits that are in us as a boy into something that's good and pure and beneficial to others. So, yeah, not much more I think needs to be said other than that. But maybe how do we do that? Maybe that's the thing. That's where I feel like I have a job, is I'm helping men in the midst of feeling like a kid, feeling like a boy in a man's body, in a man's world, and you're not measuring up to those things in your life. How do I manage these emotions that is constantly questioning every little thing in my life? And I'm wondering if I'm man enough, if I'm masculine enough, and I feel like a boy when I don't measure up or I fail or I lack this. But really, that's not the definition of manhood or masculinity. It's when we start having those questions is when we're stepping into manhood, and we go, how do I be a man in this situation? How do I learn from my mistakes? How do I continue to dress the boy that continues to show up in my manhood, and not to dismiss the boy that I used to be, but teach him, have compassion for him, that I didn't learn these things. I mean, I know as a young man, or I would say as a man in general, is just the whole idea of money. And every time I have a failure with money, I feel less than a man. I feel like a kid. And learning to address those things instead of avoiding them like a boy would, like I did as a kid. Anytime there was something I didn't like, anytime I had a bad emotion related to something, I just avoid it, move past it, isolate myself. Where now it's like you start asking good questions, you research, you reach out to people, and you're vulnerable. You're like, man, I'm not very good at this. Teach me, show me. What would you do in this situation when you constantly have these types of failures in finances, and you get people around you who are better at it than you? That's what it looks like to be a man. Is channeling those things that you were unable to channel as a boy, and bring them as a man in maturity, and begin to channel them in a healthy way, addressing the insecurities, becoming more self-aware, taking every opportunity as a learning opportunity, and failing well amidst all of that, and finding success at the end of the road, and not letting success be the definition, being the defining factor, but that I'm a man because I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm changing, I'm taking all this strength and power that feels a little chaotic, and I'm bringing order, I'm bringing stability to others. That is, as a man, I think that's what's, unfortunately, we all got to do this in real time. And something I do with Men Are Forged and in my coaching is I'm trying to give systems, processes to men to reflect in real time, unpack in real time, understand in real time, because like all day, every day, we are, I shouldn't say all day, every day, but a lot of times we're in the midst of the fight, we're in the midst of work, we're in the midst of fatherhood, marriage, and these insecurities, these anxieties, these feelings of lack, of not being a man enough, hit us in the moment. And we've got to pull back and in the moment address it and figure out, hey, how do I be a man in this situation and not a kid, not a boy, not act out of emotion and the tantrum or anger or isolation. That's kind of been my go-to, to pull away but actually engage and be a man. So, yeah. Just to give a little plug for me, this is what I do. This is how I have content and systems in place to help men do this, to unpack. Because this is what happens with most of us as men, and this is what makes it the difference between men and boys. Is this is going to happen to you whether by choice or by trial or by pain, right? Trial or pain. Like, you will choose to grow in these areas by choice, right? By choosing to embrace it, to understand it while I'm in the midst of it, learn even before it, and realize that these things are coming. These moments are coming. How do I do it in real time and not where it crushes me, or at least a midlife crisis, an addiction, an escape, where I'm constantly trying to avoid it, and it's like life will continue to put its finger on it. And usually when this happens and it comes to the surface, God's telling you, all right, it's time for us to address this. And that's what that's what happens. But we need to be prepared for it. We need to learn the systems, the processes, the practices, disciplines in our life to handle it, learn how to reflect, to allow it to hit us, to not avoid it, and be prepared, because it's coming. It's going to happen. If you're living life, you're in marriage, you're having kids, you're in a job, you're in a career, you're on adventures, you are living your life, these things will come in, and the internal will then come to the surface of what's really there. And those who choose to look at it, to reflect on it, to avoid these things, it's going to hit them, and generally it's going to hit harder, because those humbling moments are all going to be there. The man who avoids humility is not really a man at all. And I think that's probably a key factor, is learning to embrace those humbling moments and learn from them and get better. So, all right, I've kind of preached enough at you today. So, check out mentorforge.com. I would love to hear from y'all. Give me a free call, or just, leave a comment, email, and just let me know how the podcasts resonate with you. Give me comments, thoughts. I think that's it. So I'll see y'all next time. All right, last thing. If you're looking for something to read this fall or this summer as it closes out, I would recommend going to mentorforge.com/authors. And you can even go into mentorforge.com and hit the link at the top. It's this little on the banner. It's books to read from the podcast. I've got these amazing authors that I'm interviewing, and their content is available on my website, and you can buy the book there through the website. There's amazing guys I'm leading a group of men this summer through Jay Stringer's book, Unwanted. You could check that one out, which is really powerful for anything of not just understanding your own sexual story and sexual addiction, but also like unpacking just more of your personal history. So I highly recommend that one, as well as an interview that's coming out that I'm really excited, that's really connected to me and what I'm doing, is the 5 Masculine Instincts by Chase Replogel. That's what his name is. But that podcast is coming. I'm leading a group of men through that this fall. But those are 2 books. Highly recommend them. Go check them out at mentorforge.com/authors, as well as all my other guests that have amazing books if you're looking for something to read. And I'll see y'all next time.